joined now by Tim Loughton, Andrea Leadsom's campaign manager. And in just a moment, we're hoping to be hearing from the Cabinet Office Minister, Robert Halfon. He's backing Theresa May, of course. But Mr Loughton, very good morning to you. What do you say to that from Priti Patel there? You know, is it a mirror image or slightly similar to what's going on in the Labour Party? You have a candidate here who's not supported by the MPs and may be very popular with the membership. We've still got to find that out.
Well, she was supported by the MPs. It's just that Theresa May got more votes than her. And the fact that we've got two very strong candidates who both happen to be women, who both happen to go to state school, gosh, this is a new sort of Conservative Party, isn't it? So it's a really good leadership contest. And we must go through with that leadership contest, because the way it works in the Conservative Party is MPs play an advisory role, we whittle it down to two, and then it's up to our membership up and down the country. And the more people see of Andrea, obviously Theresa's been in Parliament longer, as long as me, more people know her, but the more people see Andrea, the more they say, gosh, we like this.
But just on that point of the MPs and the membership, let's say we still have a long way to go before we find out the views of the membership, but if she gets it, if your candidate gets it, she then does have to address that large number of MPs, that large majority of MPs who voted for Theresa May, and unify the party before she starts dealing with the country.
But Theresa would have to do the same, because we have a lot of people in the Conservative Party who voted for Brexit, and Theresa was on the Remain side. So whichever the successful candidate, there's a big job of work to do to bring the party together and to bring the country together. Andrea is actually a really nice person, widely liked within the Conservative Party and widely respected across the whole of the House of Commons. So she has form when it comes to bringing people together. But let's remember, let's go back to the leadership campaign back in 2001. MPs voted for Ken Clarke, and the eventual decision by the country at large was Ian Duncan Smith. So it wouldn't be the first time.
And what a success that turned out to be.
Well, no, he became our leader, and we didn't have mass resignations or people like Priti saying this will never work. So it's up to our membership.
Well, the
That's the
MPs
way it
did
works.
rebel against him and throw him out.
But nobody started jumping ship.
OK. Robert Halfon is here, I'm glad to say, who's supporting Theresa May in the leadership election. Well, tell us that, and I know you heard Robert, and very good morning to you.
Good morning.
You heard quite a lot of that conversation, and it is this issue of reunifying the party, whoever wins, and tell me why you believe your candidate is best placed to do that. Clearly, she got the majority of MPs, but we don't know what your membership thinks yet.
Well, she is the unity candidate. It's not just having a majority of MPs. She's got the leading levers. So Liam Fox, for example, Chris Grayling, David Davis, Priti Patel, as you've just been mentioning, James Cleverly on the backbenchers. She's got the support of the Daily Mail, leading Leave newspaper, the support of The Sun. She is someone who can unite both the party and the country.
What's your view on, thrown into this, and a lot of this seems to have flowed from the interview that Andrea Leadsom gave to the Times yesterday. What's your view on that, this issue of motherhood and fitness to lead?
Well, in all my dealings with Andrea Leadsom, although I'm a strong Theresa May supporter, I find her to be a very decent person. I think that she has apologised or given a statement to say that she meant no offence by it, and I'm quite happy with that. I think we need to discuss the issues. I'm supporting Theresa because she's a compassionate Conservative.
But don't you think it shows? She said she was stitched up in the way that it was used, but there were great chunks in which she said what she said. Does that not show at least naivety in your view?
Well, she issued a statement later on in the day. She apologised for any offence that had been given, and I'm quite happy with that, because I think it's very important that we concentrate on the key issues facing our nation.
Well, Tim, do you believe that it exposes her lack of, I suppose, guile, her naivety, and some saying that makes her unfit to be Prime Minister in itself?
I think that's unfair. The thing with Andrea, she's a very genuine person, and she gave an interview to a very experienced journalist in The Times who clearly wanted to lead her down a path. And she kept going on relentlessly about the children issue, the journalist. And Andrea made it absolutely clear, and she's made it clear right through this campaign, that we are not running any negative stuff. In no way is our campaign about undermining the other candidates, about the positive case for why Andrea will be the best candidate for Prime Minister. She is fired up. What makes her passionate in politics is her children and her family. Since when has it been a crime to be proud about your children? And today we just had Andy Murray saying what fires him up is his children. So is he being critical of other tennis players as well?
OK, listen, let's get on to the substance of it. And people are going to want to know, as this leadership campaign continues, is one key question flowing from the results of the referendum. when would your candidate, let's be explicit, when would your candidate trigger Article 50, the formal process by which the UK starts to leave the European Union?
Well, Theresa May has said that she would have a proper Brexit ministry, someone in the cabinet who is a leaver in charge of the Brexit negotiations, and Article 50 would be triggered either at the end of this year or sometime early next year.
But that is definitive. Irrespective of what happens in the conversations, even informal conversations with the European Union and some of the senior countries.
That is what she has said so far, and I'm sure more detail will be set out over the coming weeks and months. But I think that is pretty clear position.
OK, end of the year or a bit later. But Tim Loughton, your candidate's very clear. The second she gets the job.
No, she said she wants to get on with it. And there are various ways that you can do this. You can trigger Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty. You can rescind the 1972 Act. We're going to have a group of people, of experts, advising on this, taking advice as well from what our partners in Europe would like to see too. But she's made it very clear, as the Brexit candidate who fought passionately for Brexit during the referendum because she believes Britain's best future is outside of the EU, she wants to get on with it. No ifs, no buts, none of this nonsense about second referendum. She will do it in the speediest possible way that will achieve an effective start of negotiations.
You're saying there may be some wriggle room on the actual triggering of Article 50. I was led to believe, from what I've read from her, and even that interview yesterday, that she gets on with it. She gets through the door of number 10, and that's it. Then that's what the EU say, then negotiations start.
She gets on with it. There are various ways of getting on with it, and there's a sense of urgency with Andrea, because we now made this clear decision. She fought hard for that clear decision. She wants to get on with negotiating our future outside of the EU. She's not going to be bounced into saying it's got to be on a certain day, it's got to be a certain way. We will do it in the best way that's in the best interest of this country as soon as possible.
OK, other issues of substance. What happens to EU nationals? Again, seems different things being said by the two candidates. What happens to EU nationals already residing in the United Kingdom? Theresa May seems to be saying, well, that's dependent on what happens to British nationals living in other parts of the European Union.
She's been incredibly honest, because what she said is, I want to guarantee the status of EU nationals here, and I believe that. I don't believe anyone will be deported. She has. She said it on a number of occasions. She wants to give them every assurance, but she also wants to guarantee the status of British nationals, the millions of British nationals who live in the European Union. I think that's
so. They're human shields. They're bargaining chips.
No, she's just being honest, because of course these things will always be discussed in any kind of negotiation in terms of our withdrawal. She's actually being honest. She's not saying things she can't keep, but she's saying she wants to guarantee assure the people who are here that they can stay here. But she also wants to guarantee that British nationals will be able to stay where they are in the European Union.
Well, I mean, but that's mutually assured destruction. So if you start throwing British nationals out, we'll start throwing out EU nationals.
I do not believe that anyone will be deported here. I think she's being honest. We're leaving the European Union. Of course, this subject is going to come up.
We'll need greater certainty.
Andrea Leadsom's position, though, is still a bit...
No, it's not.
Well, up to this point, EU nationals can stay, but if you come in now or afterwards or before the triggering of Article 50, you may have to go.
Andrea has made it absolutely clear she is not going to use people's lives as bargaining chips in this whole negotiation, and she's made it clear that anybody who is here, European nationals, if they are here legally, and that will not include those 13,000 people who are awaiting deportation out of the country, then their rights, their residency is absolutely safe. And we would certainly want to make sure...
When does the point system apply to them, then?
Well, the point system will come in when we start these negotiations, and we will take a view as practically when it needs to start.
But anyone up to that point, then, is free to come in because we're still members of the European Union and they can stay for good. There may be a rush.
We will not be in a position for her to start this process until she becomes Prime Minister, for starters. So we are still several weeks away from that. We need to do this in an orderly manner. But I think there's a fear, and I had somebody came up to me in the street surgery yesterday saying, who was German, what is my status going to be? And Theresa's got to make this clearer. We need certainty for people, not trying to play politics with people's lives. And Andrea has made it very clear.
What she says, and she said a number of times, both in the Evening Standard and on the Peston programme last week, that she wants to guarantee the status of EU nationals here. And in fact, Andrea Leadsom has said that she wouldn't necessarily guarantee the status of any EU national who comes here before we leave the European Union. So, it is actually Theresa who's being honest about this and just making clear that we must guarantee the status.
Last question, and it's back to the party. Yeah. Fears of a split we're hearing from your side, Robert Halfon, if Andrea Leadsom gets in?
Well, I certainly wouldn't leave the Conservative Party. I don't think I don't know how true that story is. I mean, I think that whoever is leader, we should all work together. We need to be a united party. And that's why I'm supporting Theresa May. As I say, she brings unity back to not just our party, but our country as well. And she is a compassionate Conservative, as shown by what she's done in the Home Office. And she brings the security and the stability that our country needs.
Tim Loughton, do you believe it, that some are saying, well, we might consider our future in the party?
As Robert and I know, our Conservative colleagues are a funny old bunch. There's a lot of posturing. I'm afraid a few people are still rerunning the referendum campaign arguments. So I'm not sure who they think they're helping by doing this. And some of the names that have come out actually should... a prolonged period of judicious silence might go a long way to help our cause.
OK, we didn't get that from either of you. Thank goodness. Tim Loughton, Robert Halfon, thank you both very much indeed.